Welcome back to War Thunder and welcome to the Duck Talks number 31. And today's episode, I actually don't have a title for it at the moment that I'm beginning this recording. But as usual, I want to begin with the questions from last Duck Talks. First, the comment is from APTX4369, awesome name by the way. And the question is the IS-4 still a good tank? Here's the thing with the IS-4. The IS-4 always had weaknesses and strength. The strength was the awesome, very bouncy and trollish armor, and it also was reworked very often. The drawbacks never changed, like it always had this kind of long reload, it always had the same ammunition at its disposal, so the tank itself never really changed. Yes, that screams loud power creep, but you know, it can still hold itself. And many people don't really understand how to drive an IS-4. Yes, I made a tank review on it, which is kind of obsolete because a little bit the armor layout a little bit changed, but recently the tank was indirectly buffed with the nerf to the 105mm HESH shell that now no longer can reliably penetrate the front of the IS-4. Yes, you still can shot trap, but we will talk about shot trapping just in a moment. So I still like the IS-4, and I think it is still a hard nut to crack, especially for stock tanks. Then Noodle Bandit 35 asks if I can make a CL13 review. The answer is yes, I can, but it would be absolutely trash. Why? Because I have no idea how jets work. I mean, I have an idea, but I don't play jets, and there is a reason for it, because it's just simply not fun. I don't like flying jets. It is not that you have to grind for so long, but that a lot of the performance, or let's say too much of the performance, lies within the jets. So I have no idea how Russian planes work, I have no idea how American planes work. I know a little bit about German planes up until the last two final ones, the MiG-15 and the CL-13, and you know, that's not good enough to give you a proper review of a high-tier vehicle. I would love to know everything that there is about jets, but I don't want to suffer. Okay, that's the thing, and tier 5 is really suffering. It has nothing to do with your overall skill or your knowledge. It's just either the vehicle is upgraded and fantastic, or it's not, and you just have a damn hard time. So yeah, so I could do it, but there is just simply no you know, worth going through it. I mean, there are other YouTubers that know or knew how to fly jets. I can definitely tell you that Orange is somebody that, or the Orange Doom is somebody that really knew about jets. Currently he claims that he has to relearn it, but I think he still has the, you know, he still has it in his fingers and his hands. How to make those fake head-ons, how to rush enemies and so on. It's really nice to look at when you watch other people's videos, but doing it yourself is always difficult. I mean, it's not the repair costs or, you know, the amount of upgrading, it's just simply the feel to it. It feels wrong. I'm a prop head, I love my my planes with propellers, and that's awesome. From time to time I play jets, but that's like playing from time to time World of Tanks and just then remembering why you don't play it. Okay, so I hope that gives you the knowledge why I don't really want to do that. Then Fire8233 asks, so Type 61 is playable now. That was obviously the gameplay in the background from the last Duck Talks, and yes, the Type 61 is actually a nice tank. I like it, and that, you know, is now a very nice interaction between Dutch Elite 89's question. I am trying to play the M47, I have heat unlocked, I know where to shoot, but don't get good games, and tips. So with the Type 61 and the M47 together with the IS-4, you have the high tier theme of tanks, and I played them enough. I suffered through the stock grind of the M47, which is one of the most horrifying stock grinds ever. And let's just put it that way. Even if you have unlocked the heat shell, don't forget about the APHE shell. So the normal theme for both the Type 61 and also the M47, like with so many other medium tanks, is trying to do the flanking maneuver, okay? And at this point, you just simply run into tanks that you have difficulties dealing with it, but for them it's really, really easy to deal with you. I'm talking here about the Leopard in stock against your medium tanks, and also, of course, the T-54 varieties, especially the T-54-47. Yes, I mentioned that multiple times, but this tank is just an absolute nightmare. He knows where to shoot, turret front, right next to gun, and he will one-shot you. And when you're stock, you have a damn hard time dealing with them from the front. And when then you have the heat finally unlocked, and you use your usual playstyle, like trying to flank them, you know, playing defensively and just, you know, not trying to get any attention. And then you use the heat like you use the APHE. That does not give you the results, and then you have to stick around for the reload and so on, and it's horrible. The Type 61 in this respect is much better than the M47. Why? Well, simply it gets the heat shell as a tier 2 upgrade and not as a tier 4 upgrade, and also has a lower battle rating, but practically the same gun with less armor, but overall better maneuverability and mobility, if I'm not wrong. So you kind of see the problem here. That's also a little bit power creep. But again, the Type 61, I don't like going head-on with something like an IS-4, because you have to be quick. Then you just, you know, send the heat shell a few centimeters away from the position that you actually wanted to hit, and then it doesn't do the damage because suddenly the damage output is not there, or it just simply bounces, or doesn't go through, or there is a glitch, or, you know, one of those strange lags, and then you don't do damage before you can retreat in time. The IS-4 swings the turret around, one-shots you. Good feel, bro, good feel. And then, you know, certain elitists call you a dumb noob and an idiot and so on. So it's really, really a painful experience in this respect. But back to give you a tip for the M47. The essential tip is to not forget about the APHE. Don't go head-on with anything, despite you having actually not the worst armor around, but it's always not quite good enough, okay? So, yeah, if you have the heat unlocked, you have much more, you know, options, of course. You can penetrate many more tanks from the front, but you need to disable them. You need to take out the gunner when he is not aware of you, and then try to switch to APHE and just give him the side shot. But you also must not hang around too long enough, but there is always, because there's always a second Russian tank that just waits for you, you know, for you to come around and make the killing shot on the wounded comrade. So yeah, that's all the tips that I can give you, because there is no easy solution. There is no WASD hacks that you apply and suddenly you're undefeatable and just rule the battlefield. And if so, please tell me how you do it without, you know, cheating. So then that leads me to the other topics. And the first topic that I want to talk about is actually from 10 Duck Talks away. Duck Talks 21 was the one that I talked about achieving 1,500 subscribers. As of today, the day that I record that Duck Talk, I have 3,000. So in like 4 months, just over 4 months, I doubled my subscriber base. Now with the relatively low number of subscribers compared to other YouTubers, that's not really, you know, too much, but overall that's quite something. So my channel is growing, so hooray for that. And yeah, it's been in 10 days, it's actually 1 year of making YouTube for me, so that's quite interesting. And I really love this. 3,000 subscribers, I really like it. So I answered the questions from last Duck Talks as well. Then let's talk about certain issues, okay, within War Thunder that I am a bit annoyed about. And we all can nail it down to last weekend's kind of pre-closed beta test for ships. And that really, yeah, I don't like that. Let me explain. First of all, the ship event was heavily criticized by many YouTubers. Amongst them I want to mention 3. Origin, Fly Daily, and also my good buddy Mike Goes Boom. And they used all different words to express, the problems with ships. And there were different points made, different, how to say it, different perspectives were made. But the major problem is that it is absolutely no fun. And in addition to my words, there is absolutely no progress visible. So you played it like in half a year ago, where there was the first test. Everybody was excited. Everybody was stand by the graphical visual effects and so on, and it looked very, very nice. For the first time you really saw ships, with the exception of last year's what was it, with last year's April Fool's event, with the sailing ships, which was awesome, by the way. And that is actually the thing. April Fool's event and ships, what do they have in common? The obvious effort, will, and hard blood put into them. And the pure, majestic pile of shit that is covering ships is not that it is not battleships and so on, but it's just simply the love. There is no love put in. It's too much bitten off the big cake that says, yeah, we need to implement ships. There are the waves that rock around your boat, and see, when you implement something for the first time, keep it simple. That's the message. Do not just implement this and that is not working, and you have readjust this and so on and so on. And at the end of the day, there is just a big mess of, things that don't work. Or, what is much worse, they are not fun, regardless of the nation that you are in. And, we are not even talking about the readjustments of Air RB or Tank RB or even Arcade. Yes, I still want Arcade to get fixed. Not in tanks. For tanks it's more or less fine, to be honest. But for planes, oh please, Gaijin, please, for the love of God, put a bit of effort into one of those modes that raise future RB pilots, which is an option for spading certain vehicles. And realistic is then a place where you can spade other vehicles that don't have a place in Arcade. It's very simple. There are many options, but those options really not always are great. That's the thing. How to improve Tank RB? Well, just simply get rid of the spawn point system. I mean, you can toggle around it, you can just try to improve it, which also would be a great benefit. How it works out at the moment is very punishing, very frustrating. Just a handful of very good tankers profit from it and can actually, just use very strong tanks and get away with it. Now, here's the thing. Overall, the overwhelming majority of players, I think, would happily accept a new improved system. Let's just put it that way. The next thing is also get rid of all the children's sicknesses, or the Kinderkrankheiten, as we say in German. What's that? Well, for example, you spawn in your RE251 or your Object 906, and you're a fast light tank. You need to use that speed to get into position. Every second counts, and you just, whoosh out of the cap the second you spawn, and then a mouse spawns in front of you. And you run into it, and it costs you dearly, because also the mouse driver is AFK and does not move for the next 5 to 6 seconds, which is a very long time if you're full of adrenaline and you have battle plans like, okay, I need to get into this position to intercept that kind of tanks and to go there and so on. Hopefully it pays off and so on, yada yada yada, and then all your plans get crushed literally in the beginning by a mouse or a T95 or any other heavy tank. It doesn't matter. So just why not give 15 spawn positions out, and the frontline ones get used first by those who spawn in first. That's fair, that's awesome, it's easy to implement, in my opinion. Again, I'm not a programmer, but that sounds, it makes an awful amount of sense if you put it like that. then Gaijin hesitates. That's the problem. Gaijin is a company that has very, very bright minds amongst their developers, or the ones, the developing ideas, rough ideas. What about the World War mode? What about enduring confrontations? What about different game modes that just, take existing maps and just enlarges them, or readjusting airfields for AirRB and so on? It would be really nice to see some changes. I'm not even mentioning that we need more and more RB maps for planes. For tanks, we have an awful amount nowadays. For arcade, I am an arcade fan partially, but it's strange that we get arcade map after arcade map, but nothing for RB. Is it too much work for Gaijin? And do they think it's fine? It's fine how it is. It works out. No need to adjust it. I don't think so. RB is a good selling point, and arcade can train players, and arcade is also, if you desire so, the one and only game mode necessary. RB is an option, but also can be the only thing that you need to do. You have the option, but you need to work on, such a awesome mode like RB, and you just need to fix the problems, and suddenly, you have a working system again. It's not that you have to reinvent the wheel. And with something like the World War mode or enduring confrontations, which is tested for nearly a year, or even over a year if I'm honest, you just simply have to face the fact that we see no progress whatsoever. And the next thing, do you remember bomber cockpits that were introduced the day before War Thunder went into full release? I like bomber cockpits. They brought refreshment to the sim community, and I agree that they are not, they don't have to be the high definition things. It just goes, the major effect is the limitation of the view for the for the pilot, for the bomber pilot, because previously they just could observe everything around them, having a decisive advantage over fighter pilots. I'm not playing sim, but I saw enough videos, and I played bombers myself in sim to know that you heavily could abuse that. And that is just not how it should be, that you abuse a game mechanic, or the lack of, rather. Now the problem is the community has asked for so long, and when finally they got introduced, what we got was a whole bunch of low resolution bomber cockpits. And while they do the job, I have to ask myself, they were hastily done, just to fulfill the requirement. Somebody does not really want to do the work that he needs to do properly. Did we see a refinement of those already? It's been a while since, like 4 months. I'm just saying, I don't see progress in the parts where we really need it. Yes, Gaijin is a company. Yes, Gaijin needs to make money. Yes, Gaijin needs to pay the developer team and so on. But why don't you... Okay, here is the simple thing. I want to improve War Thunder for it to make a more balanced, more fair, and at the end, more fun game. And a fun, good-looking game that has a lot of diversity attracts players and maybe brings back old players. And that results in, oh, behold, more players in the queue, reducing queue times, And that just is awesome if you could catch those players, because those new players, eventually some of them are also paying. And maybe at the end of the day, you get more money out of that by investing into the right kind of decisions. And there is the breaking point. I'm not the first one to suggest that. And that criticism has been there for a long while. And those suggestions are there for a long time. Sorry about that. It's a difficult word for me. I just simply have to say either the developer team is not large enough, or the guys making the decisions don't share this opinion, and they say we earn enough money, we have to invest in the future in a different way. But the thing is, Gaijin always still makes the same mistake, which is not communicating. Now, I have to say, we saw a lot of improvement lately with more and more surveys asking the community about things. But for example, the PvE event. I played it today just for the lols of it. Nothing has changed even after the survey. How long does it take to reduce the amount of bomber waves, to finally recognize that bomber damage models, even if they are bots, are too strong for the aircraft? I flew Soviets with their 37 and 45mm guns. It's just annoying. I get annoyed. Yes, I do not have to play it, but it's again a part of the entirety of War Thunder, and I try to cover as much as possible, as good as I can. And it doesn't take me 20 games to see that there is a problem. Let's just talk about this World War mode. It has been talked a little bit about it in the past few months, but we saw really no progress. We saw no real events like this. Many people say, yes, the enduring confrontation is like the test for the aircraft in this respect, and for a test it's good, but I hoped for more. And furthermore, if you paid attention to it, there was an event like long time ago, over a year ago, where they tested it on, what was it, Sicily, where they also fiddled a little bit around with the instructor on Focke-Wulfs, and suddenly those planes just were awesome. The flight models were never changed, but the restrictions towards the overall handling were removed a little bit, and to such an extent that I just could seal club Spitfires left, right and center, because they didn't change, but I got a buff in the right manner. I did not accelerate faster, I did not turn better, but I didn't wobble around, and the plane just did what I want to do it, and that was enough to transform a bad aircraft into something that just surprised Spitfire pilots. And this is why I always say the flight model is not everything, but it has a large impact, but the instructor is the main problem. But if the flight model and the instructor are not working together very well, then you have a big problem. Again, let's see another kind of event from the perspective of enduring confrontations. World of Tanks, they put up the sandbox server, that's the wild card of their game, so to speak, where they can, test out everything. And they had this assault mode, where they made a 3x3 kilometer large map. I have to say, this is approaching War Thunder sized maps, and it all was playable. There were objectives everywhere, and to put it very simply, that was also 30 versus 30, and I know for sure that Gaijin's engine can pull that off as well, because they tested the 64 32 versus 32. But the problem was, when they did the test, there were no 32 players. It was like 5 players versus 5 players, and the rest was filled up with bots. Again, not very nicely executed. That is the problems. The ideas are there. Another game company practically seized it, thinks, we can do that as well. And then they develop that in total secrecy and bring something out. And even that first test is really, really great. And I'm not saying I praise here World of Tanks, but it just bleeds my heart that they take practically the idea from Gaijin into their completely obsolete game in comparison, engine-wise and so on, and pull off something very surprisingly. I thought their engine couldn't, work with that. I see so many opportunities within Gaijin's War Thunder and its engine, and it just breaks my heart to see it not even closely touched the potential that is. So I want Gaijin to just simply listen more to what the player base wants, and to just play the game themselves. Please, dear Gaijin developers, play the game themselves and then notice all the things that are wrong and try to fix them. If you play it yourself, it's bloody obvious what you have to do. And when that is done, you have the best game in the world. So that's it for me. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the Duck Talks. I know this is a rather fast ending, but I have stuff to do. I hope you will give this video a like if you did. Subscribe if you want to see more. And we'll see each other on the battlefields and in the skies of War Thunder.